South Carolina, we're back, New Perspectives. I'm your host, Professor Harvey Elwood, and I have a show tonight which is extremely important, and two wonderful guests in studio with me. I have the County of Orangeburg's probate judge, Pandora Jones-Glover, who's here to speak with us about an important topic. Judge Jones, welcome to New Perspectives.
Thank you so much for having me.
And also from the Carolina Legal Services, once upon a time known as Palmetto Legal Services, if I'm correct in what I'm saying, I've got Mrs. Marcia Powell-Shew. Is that right?
That's right.
Ms. Shew, welcome to New Perspectives.
Thank you.
I've been trying to get you guys here for some time now.
We'll be here ever after.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Judge Glover made the right connection for us. I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm going to let you guys just go straight into what we're going to talk about. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, New Perspective is all about you, all about your community, and all about what affects you. Judge Glover, tell us what's going on.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Elwood, for having me. Again, I am Pandora Jones-Glover, and I'm currently serving as Orangeburg County Probate Judge. Since my tenure as probate judge, I've been committed to sharing information with the citizens of Orangeburg County.
And you've been doing a good job at it, too.
And one thing that we try to do is sponsor probate workshops, and we have partnered with South Carolina Legal Services in the past. And our upcoming probate workshop is scheduled for December 3rd.
Okay.
At 10 a.m. at Answe Chapel Baptist Church. So we'd like to give your listeners some information about that workshop.
Right, so you said that's December the 3rd.
Yes.
And what time is that again?
It begins at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. I'm putting this down on my calendar as we talk.
Okay.
10 a.m.
Saturday, December 3rd at 10 a.m. at
Okay.
Andrew Chapel Baptist
Very
Church.
good. All right. So tell us what's the workshop going to be about? What are we doing there?
Okay, in this probate workshop, we're going to be sharing important information regarding powers of attorneys and last will and testaments.
Okay. So basically, Judge, and you know, I'm from North, the big city of North.
Okay.
We have an older population of people throughout the state. Well, I guess around the world. I don't mean it in that way. What I'm saying is that for years, educationally, many people have been deprived, in my opinion, of having a broad understanding of how to handle legal matters. And some of them, of course, are not adequately financially able to hire an attorney, to get a will prepared, and so forth and so have you. So these kind of workshops are extremely important. The elderly are unprotected. Families are unprotected. I can remember some years ago working with Palmetto Legal Services, a family came in to the office, and I remember this very well. Their father had died in 1924. The land was left the land wasn't left for anybody. The grandmother took over the responsibilities to pay the taxes. She lived, and then she expired. The mother then took on the responsibility, and then the mother expired. And the bad part about it was that the deed that was established by the father was done on a handshake.
Wow.
And there was no written recorded deed. So all the people that expired, and there were 3 siblings, the 3 siblings now had to divide it. And we had to research and go all the way back, I think, to 19 or 18 something.
Wow.
Which is when the deed was property to the original owner. And somewhere thereafter, we found out that 10 acres of the 30-acre plot was being used by SCENG.
Oh, my.
Ooh.
So this was a windfall for the family because SCENG was utilizing their land.
Okay.
As a substation or something to that effect. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm saying is it's extremely important to come to these workshops. We have to be able to have a clear deed of transfer of property, and those issues take place and are better understood through the probate process.
Right, and there are so many challenges that families face with the heirs property situation, and that is normally what happens when family members fail to execute last will and testaments, and the property pretty much belongs to several hundred individuals. So that's why we sponsor these types of workshops, so that individuals can come out and learn about the importance of probating and executing last will and testaments.
And that saves legal services, I would imagine, from having to work through those problems. Now, in this area, what does legal services do?
We do all types of, we do actually probate cases in probate court. We do wills, last will and testaments, living wills, healthcare powers, general durable powers of attorney, and those are the what we call advanced directives.
And this is for people generally who cannot afford attorneys.
For low-income folks, we do civil matters.
Okay.
I am the statewide elder law unit head for all of legal services. We are a statewide nonprofit law firm. So we go around providing education at senior centers and to the elderly population in all the counties.
And the other thing about it that's so important, and both your agency as well as what Judge Glover does at the probate court is so valuable. And I have another example of someone who had, during their years of older age, became ill, and they were receiving Medicaid. And through the Medicaid, the cost was pretty high. When they died, the state stepped in to claim the property from that person for their using the Medicaid. Does that still exist?
That is still an issue, and we still negotiate with estate recovery through the state Health and Human Services group.
Okay.
And we can negotiate sometimes to keep family members in the house, even though there's a Medicaid lien. Yes.
Okay. Now, here's the question. Now, Medicaid is technically a federally funded program. The state of South Carolina, from what I'm understanding, steps in and says, well, we want our portion back, and we want it back through
the estate.
Through the estate.
Yes.
Right.
Now, has anyone ever challenged that at a higher level? I mean, I know it's a difficult question.
I don't know that it's ever been challenged.
Because the point is,
I don't know that either.
In other words, food stamps are a federally funded program. The state they receive money to help administer the program.
They do.
Okay, so when the person dies, does the state come back and say, well, a portion of the administrative fees that we provided through the federal dollars, we want that back from the estate of the person who received the food stamps?
Not for food stamps. I've never seen them file a claim, but I do know that Medicaid has the estate recovery division.
Understood.
Yes.
Understood. And now I just raise it as a...
That's a good question. I never seen it challenged, and I think perhaps the reason is that when the folks sign up to receive the Medicaid, they are told and they agree by contract that they will subject their estate to that.
But both of you as attorneys know that a contract does not create a law.
Yes.
And that
Absolutely.
a contract is arguable in court.
And I think it's important to note that there are some exceptions, though.
Okay.
So family members can apply for different waivers.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Because, and lastly, and I'm not going to belabor this, the Jefferson Square building is where that takes place. I don't mind telling people that I'm a Christian, and I've worked several positions in jobs, political and non-political. And I worked there temporarily as a temporary worker while I was at Benedict College. And I walked in there, and I didn't know what the job was. It says a state job. I stayed there for, I think it was 3 or 4 days. It was impossible for me to call up people and say, you have to get out of your house. I could not do it. No amount of money from any organization would allow me to say, where you grew up, your mother was ill, she received a benefit, and you have to leave. To me, that's unchristian. Because if either you're going to help someone as a Christian or you're not. And we're in the Bible Belt. We have a state organization made up of employees who profess to be Christians. What's better than being in a position to do for those that Jesus would help? Now, this is not a religious program, but that's just my personal...
You're right. But as I said, there are some waivers that family members can apply for. Okay. So they normally don't come after the estate until the spouse passes.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And sometimes even other family members can remain in the house.
If they have a family member that's been living in the home for like 2 years or so, or if they have some sort of disability. Yeah. So they do have waivers out there.
And my whole interest is this. If somebody had to depend on Medicaid from the start, obviously there was some family deficiency. Yeah. The children did not have the funds to take care of their parents. That's why the state and the federal government came in to pitch in. A lot of it, in my opinion, and I may be wrong, some people are the inheritors of a failed educational system or policy here in the state of South Carolina. And as a result, they sign things that they don't understand. They accept and receive and see legislation that they don't understand. When it's all said and done, they're told, you have to leave. people traditionally will not stand up for themselves, and
Right.
and
You're,
there's
you're
what we're
exactly
for.
right. And that's why we're
Yeah.
here, because we
Okay.
want to share information with Orangeburg County residents so that they will know some things that they can do
I'm
to
so glad
protect
that
their
you're here.
estate, their
Tell
assets.
tell us again. So this is Saturday.
Saturday, December 3rd at 10 a.m. at Andrew Chapel Baptist Church, which is located at 3670 Five Chop Road here in Orangeburg. And again, we're going to be sharing information on some estate planning matters, like Ms. Shew said, the powers of attorneys, the living wills. And we just want to let them know what those documents are and how important they are to be executed.
Phone number for your office and for Ms. Shew's office.
Okay, if anyone needs additional information, they can certainly contact the Orangeburg County Probate Court at 803-533-6280.
Okay, Ms.
You
Shew.
may call South Carolina Legal Services at 533-0116.
Okay. Tell us some of the things at South Carolina Legal Services. What are the other things that you all are working on? Tell us about some of the individuals that you help.
All right, I'll tell you first that we believe in preventive law.
Okay.
I like to talk about preventive law because that's what this estate planning is, and that's what this session is all about, the workshop, because we're helping you plan and put your last word in on what's going to happen to you in the future.
Okay.
So that's why we urge the wills and powers of attorney and living wills and other advanced directives. We handle every civil matter. We do run into the
Divorces.
cases. We do physical cruelty divorces
Okay.
only, and we have workshops for doing your separation divorces.
Okay. The 1 year continuous separation.
Yes,
Right.
we do those. I do one of those every month. We have one of those every month in Orangeburg County.
Okay.
And all 5 of our counties that our office covers.
Okay.
We also are assisting with a housing grant. We're doing loan closings under a housing grant, and I think I'm going to
That's the help
come
program.
back and talk to you about that
Yes.
SC help program one day.
There's one thing I wanted to ask, and one thing about New Perspectives here. One of the things that Clarence Jones is my producer and engineer. One thing that we always try to encourage people to do is volunteerism. Before we went on air, I spoke about when I came to South Carolina in '89 after undergraduate, getting ready to go to graduate school. I worked for a short time at Powell-Shew Legal Services, about a year. But I walked in there as a volunteer. I stayed there for a week, and I believe that I showed myself to be somewhat worthy. And so I was hired as an intern. Clarence Jones, who manages this station and runs the information and the digital information and helps produce these shows, likewise, he was an intern at WLIB in New York. And so he came back with all that good information and good knowledge. Is there room for volunteerism at either one of your organizations or what you all are doing at any time?
Definitely there are opportunities for volunteering in the probate court.
Okay.
And what we've done, we've had several interns from Claflin, South Carolina State, and actually 2 of my longtime employees are graduates of South Carolina State. So
Very
we've had
good.
some really good employees
Very
that started off as interns.
Would you say, Marcia, and I know you were going to jump in, would you say that volunteerism is a good place to start if you want to desire a position in the legal area?
Absolutely, absolutely. We also take interns in most of our offices across the state, and we do represent every county in this state, except volunteers and interns. And frequently, our volunteers turn into part-time employees and then full-time employees, and the interns as well. Some of our larger offices can do without the volunteer interns. We certainly need some in Orangeburg. We don't have any volunteers right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is coming from me to you. If you have a young person in your home that is not doing anything worthy of themselves or their talent, Legal Services South Carolina will screen them to determine whether or not they're eligible and meet the standards of qualification to serve as an intern. And I assure you that the training that they will get there, even if it's just carrying envelopes and putting on stamps, will be valuable. People, this was my route, or one of my routes to the level of success and knowledge that I've acquired. Every experience in life is a compilation of what you become. We are an amalgamation of our experiences. So I always encourage people for volunteerism. I
Right.
encourage them to join you guys. Give us that phone number once again, Marcia, if you will.
It's 533-0116.
Okay.
I am so grateful for Marcia and her organization because,
Marcia.
as you said earlier, lots of people cannot afford attorneys. And so, again, I'm grateful for South Carolina Legal Services because they have partnered with us in the past. Another thing that I haven't mentioned is that they will be preparing free wills, healthcare powers of attorneys, and living wills for those individuals that qualify. So we encourage everyone to come out and get the information, and then they will contact legal services to apply for those documents.
You see, this is what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. It's about being in touch with the community, finding out who the service providers are and the people who care about this community, and New Perspectives. We're thankful and grateful are able to bring you this information. Please let us all take advantage of this very excellent opportunity. Saturday, December the 3rd at 10 a.m. at the
Andrew Chapel Baptist Church.
And they're on, where is Andrew Chapel exactly?
3675 Chop Road here in Orangeburg.
Okay. All right. We need them. Give us some more information. Tell us some more about probate, and maybe you want to tell us one or two stories. I know you can't name names, but tell us some of the incidents which may take place, horror stories, if you will,
Well,
when people don't do what they're supposed to do.
Well, there are many instances where loved ones will bring in documents that purport to be last will and testaments that do not meet the requisite requirements. For example, there may be no witnesses. There may just be one witness. A witness may be someone that is receiving something in the will. So those are some of the challenges that we face. For example, a will may not be notarized with a self-proving affidavit. So I would just encourage those individuals that are interested in executing a last will and document to have it reviewed by an attorney. And this
get
is
it
a great
done right.
opportunity. That's
Okay,
correct.
get it done right. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what this is all about, getting it done right. And I have two guests who really know how to get it right. You know, now, you won't talk about horror stories, but I can tell you one. I've got some folk that I know, and I'll put it that way, 5 siblings. Father, mother deceased, no will, several acres of land, a good number of acreages. One of the siblings cared for the last parent, and I know there's some entitlement if that one sibling takes care of the parent at the last. Is that right? Do they get a little more share?
Actually, they do not.
They do not.
The property, if an individual does not execute a last will and testament, the property will pass pursuant to the laws of intestate succession.
I see.
And the law dictates that if you do not have a will, your property will pass 50% to your spouse and 50% to all of your children equally.
Very good.
So in the situation that you just gave me, all of the children will take equally.
Okay.
Right.
And these particular children cannot settle this thing. And they went to the Masters of Equity, and it's just all discombobulated.
And so that is why I want to encourage all of your listeners to execute a last will and testament.
Sure.
It saves your family members so much time and money
And
if you give some guidance on how you want your property to be distributed at your death.
And they've fallen out. They're at each other's
You'll
throats.
be surprised how much contentious litigation we have in the probate court.
It's like 25 acres.
I've done family court for years too, and it's just as contentious in probate court as it is in family court.
And these are people who once loved each other. My brother, my sister, I love you. And then all of a sudden, there's money, and
You're
then
exactly
it's
right.
crazy. So
We have a horror story right now in another county.
Okay.
It's not in Orangeburg, so
right.
nobody
No
will
names.
recognize the facts. But we've got 18 defendants.
wow.
And we had somebody who, I think the grandfather passed away, then the father, the husband, then the mother, and the mother had 5 or 6 children. She attempted to probate her will herself, and she named almost everybody that was kin to her on the planet, and it was done incorrectly. Then somebody did a deed of distribution incorrectly to the wrong people. They did not. Nobody's looked to see if the father's estate had been probated because it was in another location, and so we've got the wrong people named in the estate. We've got the wrong value of the property named in the estate, and we've got
title
18
search done.
to 20 people fighting over it, and it's just a nightmare. And we're having to go back and basically start all over and try to figure it out. But I've spent hours just tracing back to determine what there is, who owned what's left, and it's just a mess. And we've got an estate recovery situation hanging a couple of claims over our heads too. So
Sure.
The probate process is indeed becoming a very complex process. And on top of all of that, we've been meeting because the South Carolina Bar has been working to revise the probate code. So I would suggest all of your listeners to come out and just get the information just to make certain that their will is executed.
Quick question. Can churches, groups, and organizations or individuals who may have missed this opportunity on December 3rd, may they from time to time call on you, or what can our show do to help organize future workshops or seminars? We'd be willing, New Perspectives, Clarence Jones, myself, Harvey Elwood as the host, would be willing to beat the bushes for you.
That's a great idea.
Help us.
They can simply contact us. And
Yeah.
again, the number for the Orangeburg County Probate Court is 803-533-6280.
Yeah, because, I mean, I'm from North originally. My family's there. We have our church there. St. Mark is one of our churches, St. Mark United Methodist Church. And then there's Jerusalem, which is another large church.
Right.
We could combine and
That would be
guarantee
great.
50, 100 people
That'd be
or
great.
whatever.
That would be wonderful.
Because, and I can tell you, it is the rural areas. And as you know, the baby boomers are here. People are getting older. We have more people getting older. And if these things haven't been done now, it's going to be a madhouse.
Right.
You know, as I'm sure.
Right. But I go out into the community and speak to churches and civic
Oh, I know you
organizations
do.
all the time.
I know you
so
do.
just have them to give me a call. But
Okay.
like I said, I would like to see more people
Okay.
out and getting the information and
Okay.
taking advantage
All
of
right.
it. So whatever you can do to help, I'd certainly appreciate
Well,
it.
The start of the process is to get the education,
Okay.
and this is education. I'll give our phone number again, too,
Yes,
for South
please.
Carolina Legal Services in Orangeburg, which is 533-0116. But that is to apply. That will get to our local office, and you can apply for anything. But we can't give generic advice. You have to become a client before we can advise you.
Understood.
But at these public educations, that's where we start, and we tell you what the law is about and how it can help you and what you need to know about it. Then you can determine if you need or want to seek an attorney.
Gotcha.
And if you're eligible for our services, then it would be free of charge.
Quick question. I know this is backwards. Usually when I invite my guests, I ask them to tell us something about themselves and their background. But it's better late than never. You both present yourselves excellently well, of course, well knowledgeable about your areas. Tell us your background. Tell us how you came to be so... I know, Marcia, I know you told me you had some background in broadcasting.
Yes, I went to University of South Carolina. I have a BA and MA in broadcast journalism. And then I went to law school at Nova University in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
I know it.
But I learned more from private practice, solo private practice in Spartanburg County for 20 years. And then I worked for Veterans Administration for 2 years after I got married in 2000 and moved to Columbia.
Wonderful.
And I've been with Legal Services since 2004. And I used to serve on the board of Piedmont Legal Services up in Spartanburg for about 15 years. So I had a good working knowledge of legal services and what it provides for the public. So I'm glad to be here.
And I'll tell you, and before I go into your background, Ms. Glover, I wanted to comment on you, Marcia, Mrs. Shew, that I tell students here all the time that a degree in communications is valuable. Working in broadcasting is valuable. If you don't believe me, check the background of Ronald Reagan, for example. It enables you to develop a command of the English language or the execution thereof. And you may go into acting. You may go into the law. You may go into public service or government service. I encourage. I mean, you don't know what you're going to be. So you can't say, well, my major is where I'm at.
That's
You
true.
see, it doesn't. Ms. Glover,
That's
tell
true.
us about your brilliant background and how you came to be our very wonderful probate judge here in
Well,
Orangeburg County.
thank you. Well, I went to Clemson University, where I majored in history and political science.
There you go.
And then I went to the University of Arkansas for law school. And that's in Fayetteville, Arkansas. It's about 17 hours away. But there were financial incentives to go out to the Midwest, if you will. After that, I returned to South Carolina, took the bar exam, and I worked as a law clerk with a circuit court judge for about 19 months. And then I moved to Orangeburg to work as a solicitor here.
And I'm glad you did.
So I prosecuted, the drug cases and some of the forgeries and different things of that nature. And then my predecessor announced that she would be relocating. So I expressed an interest, and I was appointed by Governor Sanford in July of 2004, and I've been serving ever since.
And we thank you for your service, and I've always been impressed with you.
Thank you.
That's not a political endorsement. That is an endorsement of your qualifications and capabilities as a probate judge.
Thank you so very much.
Clarence Jones, the producer of this show and engineer, has a question.
Two-part question, two different questions. First, for you, Judge, what was the most difficult case that you had to try on that you can discuss about?
Some of the difficult cases that I see, I would say, are paternity cases. And again, as you said, I can't discuss in any great detail, but it's difficult to determine who fathers are after an individual has passed. So I would say to the mothers out there to have paternity established during your child's father's lifetime. If not, there are some limitations on the amount of time that you have to establish the father after their death, and that can sometimes be difficult.
I mean, now here's another quick question to piggyback on his. Can the court, maybe not your court, but can a court require or provide exhumation of a body to extract DNA? Is that a possibility if you have the budget to do it?
It is a possibility, but I have not considered that. It is a possibility, but I haven't.
We have done a couple of cases. We've done a couple of cases where we've done the exhumation in order to try to determine benefits, but it's expensive. Mm-hmm. It's hard for our clients to afford that. That's
really a television question. Exhumation, ladies and gentlemen, is to go and exhume
the body,
the body and extract the DNA like they do on television. So, and
there has to be enough of the body left, a certain tissue, so they can gather the DNA. Sometimes on the type of death and the time, how the duration, that there might not be DNA.
Just a question,
to be discovered. But those are fascinating cases.
Yes, but most importantly, and of course, I like to get the fascinating things out there because it makes it sound like I know what I'm talking about, and I really don't. But so most importantly, and as Clarence pointed out, and as you pointed out, Judge, the most important thing is to get it done ahead of time.
To have it established in some sort of court order that this is your child's father. Also, common law issues are really tough, too. So a lot of people want to claim the common law status after their partner has passed away, and that has to be done by adjudication. So we have to have a hearing, and that can sometimes be difficult to establish.
Judge Jones, you are well equipped and very capable. Oh, Clarence has another question.
One more.
Okay.
The public education now of the laws. How many do you have that a year? I know one is coming up on December the 3rd. How many do you have in particular 1 year?
Well, I do this community-wide workshop once a year, but I do workshops at different churches and civic organizations throughout the year. So it just depends on where we're invited.
Marcia, a question for you then. So, Judge Glover, you will do them as necessary.
Yes.
And but what about around the state? Are they happening in Columbia?
We have a statewide website. It's SouthCarolinaLegalServices.com. .org. And we have a running schedule of all of our workshops, outreaches, and education programs. We generally do in the Orangeburg area. We have once a month we do a pro se divorce clinic.
Okay.
I go out to senior centers and churches and speak to seniors at least once a month. So anytime anybody wants us to come, we'll sign up for that. And
phone numbers one more time.
For the Orangeburg County Probate Court, the number is 803-533-6280.
Marcia-Shew?
803-533-0116.
That's legal services. And this program we're talking about is December the 3rd. It's a Saturday at the
Andrew Chapel Baptist Church, located at 3675 Chop Road.
Make this an important something for you and your family, an important program for you and your family. I'm Harvey Elwood. I'm running short of time. We're signing out. This is New Perspectives. Please listen to us next time. Thank you very much.